The recent reports from the ADL regarding the huge rise in anti-Semitism during the course of 1 year, beginning in 2022, spilling over into 2023, a rise of perhaps 70% since they began recording incidents of anti-Semitism in the 1970s. It's rather alarming. It's frightening. It's disturbing. And yet, somewhat ironically, I suggest to you this week, based upon the Parsha of Bechukosai, that maybe it's a gentle reminder that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is providing to us with a gentle nudge, and it has within itself even a silver lining. What do I mean by that? The Pasuk in Bechukosai tells us after all of the various visitations upon the nation of Israel in caustic fashion from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, given the fact that we have moved away from him so greatly, are detailed within the Seder Bechukosai. The Pasuk states, "V'zocharti es b'si Yaakov," HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I remember the covenant of the Avos, that of Yaakov Avinu, ve'afes brisi Yitzchak, that of Yitzchak Avinu, ve'afes brisi Avraham Eskar, and I remember the covenant, the bris that I had with Avram Avinu, ve'aretz Eskar, and I remember the land. And here comes along the Ksav Sofer, and he says, we need to remember that the Shlach HaKadosh instructed us that it's not necessarily such a good reminder that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to us, don't worry, because no matter how deeply you have fallen into the abyss of sin and departure from me, I remember Yaakov and Yitzchak and Avraham and Eretz Yisrael, Va'aretz Eskar. For said the Shlach HaKadosh, when we are compared to our Avos, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu will remember those from whom we come, we won't fare favorably. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will look at Yaakov and Yitzchak and Avram, and then he'll look at their progeny, and will come up so terribly short. And notwithstanding the fact that, as offered by the Shlah, cited by the Ksav Sofer, that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu looks at Yaakov Avinu, he can say, well, they're certainly not, they don't look like the descendants of Yaakov Avinu, but to be fair, Yaakov was raised by a Yitzchak. And notwithstanding the fact that when compared to Yitzchak, we certainly don't look like the offspring of Yitzchak, but to be fair, Yitzchak was raised by Avram Avinu. But what will we say, says the Ksav Sofer, based upon the Shlah, when we're compared to Avram Avinu? Avram Avinu was raised by Terach, he who engaged in Avodah Zarah. Well then, there's not much to be offered in our defense. Says the Ksav Sofer, maybe there is. Because when we look at the life of Avram Avinu, he indeed was the greatest of tzaddikim. But when we look at his life, we notice that even though he amassed a terrific wealth, but he was always on the move, not simply reaching out to people, trying to spread the belief in monotheism, but he was on the move because he was not permitted to stay put. He was beset upon effectively through the capture of his brother-in-law, nephew Lot, by the kings. He was beset upon them and dragged into war. His wife was taken numerous occasions by Paro, by Avimelech. He was very, very much a ger, a sojourner within the land of Eretz Yisrael himself, though it was promised to him. And therefore, it was easier for him perhaps to remain on the straight and narrow, because every day he got up and he realized, I'm a foreigner in my own land, but they don't accept me. I don't have it easy, and I need to remember who I am, and that indeed I am the chosen by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and I have no one else. We have no friends, we have no relatives, we have no compatriots, says the Ksav Sofer. But when HaKadosh Baruch Hu looks down at us, and the Ksav Sofer lived in Bratislava and Pressburg, and he says, the Ksav Sofer says, why, we're missing nothing within our land. We have everything. We've been blessed b'shefa. We've been blessed with the greatest abundance of anything that a people could want, living in Bratislava. And therefore he suggests, Amar Gamas Ha'aretz Eskar, Kadosh Baruch Hu, perhaps not referring to the land of Israel, but referring to Bratislava. The Pressburg says, I will remember that at the end of the day, though Avraham Avinu may have been a much greater tzaddik, but that's because you who are living in Pressburg, Shahidei Kesef V'Zohav Shahir Balanu, based upon all the blessings that Kadosh Baruch Hu has heaped upon the people in the diaspora, Sarnu Miderech HaTov, we have left the proper path. And therefore, it's offered in our defense as an amaslav to the Borei Olam, to Kadosh Baruch Hu, saying, well, what did you expect exactly from us? Look how pretty we're sitting. Look how wonderful we have it. And the Kadosh Baruch Hu says, I will remember that. V'zocharti es brisi Yaakov, v'af es brisi Yitzchak, v'af es brisi Avraham eskar, v'ha'aretz eskar, in the defense of my people, to ultimately grant them redemption. Well, we who live in wonderful sunny Florida, Baruch Hashem, and all of its endless abundance of Yiddishkeit, and our ability to walk freely, thank God, it should always continue. And to indeed daven and pray and live our lives in the fullest sense of the word, as from religious individuals, and those who live in Muncie, and in Borough Park, and in Williamsburg, and in Lakewood, and in Passaic, and in Boston, and certainly in Chicago and Baltimore, etc., 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 Los Angeles. Ha'aretz eskar, Kadosh Baruch Hu perhaps is giving us a little nudge of a reminder, to remind us that look at Pittsburgh, or look at Texas, or look at Brooklyn, look in Flatbush, look in Borough Park, look in North Miami Beach, and remember, you're still in Golis. We're still in the diaspora. And on the one hand, it serves as our defense, O Kadosh Baruch Hu, as to why we're not home yet, neither in land nor in observance. But at the same time, it's an important reminder to us, whisper to us in different ways, that though it may act in our defense, we need remember that this is not to be permanent. We need remember that there is an outside influence on endless levels of our lives. And we need remember that we are not yet in Eretz Yisrael. Have a wonderful Shabbat.